Hello everybody, Jordan here. The PH is silent. Today we're covering information on the Dalelands. It has a rich history, and in its history is the Dalereckoning, which is where we get the DR calendar from. A question I've been asked many times is, where does DR come from? And hopefully this will clear things up. Located west of the Sea of Fallen Stars, the Dalelands is a region in northern Faerun full of dense forests and, after they were cleared, rich farmland. The Dalelands are interesting because there isn't one central government for this region. Instead, it's a loose grouping of villages or cities called the Dales, and they are located around the Cormanthor forest. These Dales are not necessarily friendly with one another, but war is pretty much off the table. Each Dale is its own independent territory with its own military, industry, and culture. They are mostly a small group of farming communities scattered throughout an elven court. Way back in time, at around 0 DR, humans began to settle the region surrounding the ancient forest of Cormanthor. These Dalesmen immigrated from older cities to start a new life for themselves. They asked the lords of the elven court permission to settle on the borderlands of the forest. The elves said yes in return for help from the Dalesmen. They wished their aid in pushing back attacking orcs and goblins that encroached upon their kingdom. Since the Dalesmen will be sharing this area together, they agreed and a partnership was born. To commemorate this, the Standing Stone was raised in the heart of the elven forest. This event was known as the Dalereckoning and is the beginning of the most commonly used calendar in Faerun. The Standing Stone is a glossy gray rock with elven runes that wind around it. It stands over 20 feet high. The winding script states the terms of the pact with the Dalesmen. It reads that while there are elves in the forest, the people of the Dales may settle in those lands at the borders, but not reduce the woods or invade elven territories. It was a pretty smart compromise between the two races and ended up protecting them for many years from orc tribes. Farming and trade are important to the people of the Dales. They firmly believe that industriousness and virtue will overcome foreign schemes and exotic magic. Their lands will remain theirs and will remain strong. So far this has worked out, with the help of the Dalesmen banding together against larger threats such as orcs and drow. Mentioned earlier, the Dales are a group of small towns and villages that don't have a unified government to be considered a kingdom. However, representatives once a year in midwinter gather together to discuss issues that relate to the Dalelands. These mostly focus on trade, but end with inter-border disputes. The debates often lead to no conclusions, but an understanding is met between the villages. If there is a common foe, the villages will work together more quickly and strive to protect all the people in the Dalelands. News of Zentarum schemes or organized goblins is all it takes for the people of the Dalelands to come together for a greater purpose. Over the years, several people have tried to unify the Dalelands, and some have come close. Ankar Burlisk is the only man who ever succeeded for a time. In 1030 DR, Ankar became the warlord of Battledale. Orc tribes were encroaching on the Dalelands, and in 1038 DR, Ankar united the Dales to face the common threat. He was known as the Mantled King, and his reign involved constant battles to drive out invaders. In 1044 DR, he was finally killed by a sorcerer's minions. Without his leadership, the Dalelands drifted apart into their separate villages once more. Ankar sadly didn't die a heroic death in battle. He was trapped and tricked into coming to a feast in Asembra when a group of evil mages summoned a Dracolich and slayed him. However, justice was served when one of Ankar's lieutenants defeated the Dracolich. A statue of Ankar exists today in the center of Asembra. The Dalelands are neighbored by the kingdom of Cormyr to the southwest, Sembia to the south, and the forest of Cormanthor to the northeast. The vast Anarok Desert to the northwest. A lot of locations within the Dales are something Dale, so Daggerdale, Shadowdale, Harrowdale, but then there's also Asembra and Mythdraenor. Shadowdale is home to Elminster and home to two of the Seven Sisters, Storm Silverhand and Silune. Originally, Shadowdale was known as the Land Under Shadow and was controlled by the Drow. They maintained a population of humans and other races on the surface as slaves. Now Shadowdale is a farming community. It is the most legendary of the Dales and the most open towards strangers. The Elven Court was home to the royal family of Cormanthor, and where most of what elven government consisted of. The elves lived in peace with the Dalesmen for many years, living in the forest. Nearby Cormyr would like to incorporate the Dalelands within its borders. They've begun a campaign to not take the Dalelands by force, but to bring them into the fold piece by piece. They use persuasion to convince the Dalelands that joining them would be within their best interest. Sembia has a different approach. While Cormyr's attitude is the Dales would be better off with us, the Sembian feeling is we'd be better off if we controlled the Dales. They want to master the woods and take it for themselves. The area being greatly desired by Sembian merchants who wish to get a grasp on the local economy to manipulate it in their favor. And that's it for today. There's a lot of other battles that happen in this area. I'd recommend my Mythdraenor video for more information on that subject. Lots of potential for you to be from the Dalelands either as a human, elf, drow, or orc. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next week with another video here on Forgotten Realms Explained.